Hello, Internet! It is your favorite broadcasting host, SneakyDevil, here to bring you another Fanfiction Contempt Theater 9001. 3. I can count. Don't at me, bro. Rank and file. Let's do it, boys. Oh, still sick. So, you're gonna have to live with that. I'm gonna use some alcohol therapy to fix that up, though. Theoretically, I suppose. But, let me just turn off that timer there, and I suppose we can get right on into it, because, you know, Max is not joining us tonight, and Atin is busy getting his good boy points deposit. So it's just me for now. Now the first story that is given to me by Zexels was called Mangaka in Ruby. For those who are unaware, a mangaka is likely being mispronounced by me, but is also the person that makes manga. So, that's cool, I guess. Not really sure.
Alright, I'm back.
What the draw of a cartoonist in Ruby is, but
Huh? What the fuck did I miss?
Our first story of the night is given to us by Zeeks. It's called a mangaka in Ruby. You know, a cartoonist.
Yeah? Oh, Jesus Christ, I don't know what I ate, but my stomach is pissed the fuck off at me. Please continue. Hopefully my, violent rage will, keep me from focusing on the rumbling in my stomach.
It likely will, because this is a horrendous story. Now, the first complaint I have with the premise of this story, I haven't even read the premise of this story yet, but I already dislike it by the title, because I'm not really sure why what's the draw of the story. A cartoonist ends up isekai'd into Ruby. It's like, okay, well, what? And?
At least mine and Max's story, A, shitpost though it was, what's the point? It's to see what two random schmucks do.
Yeah.
When they enter the Ruby universe, right? The
With
idea that's
knowledge of
entertaining
Ruby.
about
Yeah.
our idea is
You guys
random
die.
schmucks
Constantly.
with no powers.
Yeah.
Well, no aura, I should say.
Yeah. And like, I can sort of get like, you know, engineer ends up, you know, a modern day engineer ends up in medieval times. Interesting story. You know, a gunsmith ends up in the Roman era. Shit like that, where it could be like, okay,
right? Like,
you know,
let's be honest.
This
Gate
could be
is
interesting.
not the most well executed story in the world.
No, it's not.
But the core concept is interesting enough that we can overlook the shitty, generic ass Japanese writing.
Yes. But it's like a cartoonist ends up in Ruby. It's okay. Like, they can draw comics, and now they're in Ruby. Cool.
Well, and let's be real here. It's not even something interesting like graphic novel, right? Like graphic novel artists can do lots of art styles.
Well,
manga's a very specific thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, but that's not the point, though. The point is that the story is based on the premise of someone who draws a lot ending up in a series that involves genocidal death cult shit. And it's like, okay, is this like gonna be played like Call of Cthulhu or some shit? Because like, what's the point of telling us that he's a cartoonist? There's no relevance to him being a cartoonist, as far as we are aware.
Here's the problem. There's two ways you can take this.
Yeah.
You can take it as a shitpost where because it's a drawn and animated universe, he is a god.
Okay. I could see that.
Which could at least have some entertainment and or story potential. Or you do the wrong thing, the really wrong thing, and you write it as a serious story with the thing I just talked about.
Well, actually, he does neither of those. Because here's the summary. Are you ready for this? A boy suddenly found himself in another world similar to the one in Ruby, except for the small differences like a lack of grim, lack of aura, hunters or huntresses. And an anime industry that wasn't great, so he decided to do something about it. By having the full knowledge of our world's artistic talent, he is able to take over the anime industry by storm. Self-insert OC, twin brother of Ruby Rose.
What?
So, a cartoonist ends up in Ruby, except Grimm don't exist, Aura doesn't exist, Hunters and Huntresses don't exist, but for some reason, Ruby is entirely the same otherwise, including the fact that humanity is on extinction by nothing. Ozpin is a internally reincarnating guy who's still trying to stop an immortal woman who doesn't have magic or Grimm.
Listen, we don't need to keep going. It's shit.
My main issue is that Ruby is the way it is, where each city is the country because of the Grimm. And then you say, oh, this is an AU where Grimm don't exist, but everyone still lives in a single city. It's like if Fallout decided to have an AU where there's no nuclear radiation and the nukes were never dropped. And it's just like, but wait, wouldn't that just be normal Earth then? Yeah, except it has all the Fallout technology that was gained due to the nukes. Yeah. You don't see an issue here. No. So, anyway, the author has listed this story as a parody adventure. With roughly 1.2...
Okay, look, all we need to know is it's a fucking coffee shop AU.
Yeah, pretty much. With 1,000 words per chapter. And his account is Rue Rose 23, as in the twin brother of Ruby Rose.
Yeah. I'm funny and clever.
Like,
no, you're fucking not.
Like that is like 2003 Harry Potter tier of author names. You know, like back when everyone with a fanfiction account who loved Harry Potter made their names like Snape's son or Hadrian Potter, and it's just like, you are beyond cringe.
Like, even the worst that I ever got, ever, was making my name Mandalore. Like, not even a specific thing, right? Just Mandalore.
Right. Well, there's been like dozens of Mandalores, so just having your name be Mandalore is fine because it's a title.
Like, what's it tell people? All right, he took a title from a thing that he loves, and that's fine. It's not like I was out there making up my own title either. Like,
Right. Yeah. Like the High Mandalore or something. Yes. My youth romantic comedy is wrong as I expected. It's one of those dumb slice of life rom com series that people like for some reason.
what is?
It's called Origaru, or abbreviated to Origaru. My romantic comedy teenage life was wrong as I expected, or some shit. It's about a guy who's trope aware, thinking that he's in a rom com slice of life anime, but he kind of is. But like he gets all the rom com moments wrong or something. I don't follow it. I don't pay attention to it, and I really wish it would just fucking die already. It's one of those fads that people like for a while and it disappears and no one ever talks about again.
Because it's shit.
Working at home, I wanted to come out and support. Thank you, Jorp. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And you can always hop on whenever you're ready and willing. So I'm not really gonna. Do I really want to do this? Okay. All right, Atin. I'm thinking of a number 1 through 10. If you guess over it, actually no, that's a dumb idea. Because you'll just pick like 10 or some shit. If you get within 3, we're gonna read it. So pick a number.
I'm not doing this. Oh god, this is so much pressure. I'm sorry. You said between 1 and what?
10.
25.
Excellently done. I knew you would pick that.
Nope. Nope. You said 1 and 10. I guessed 25. I was so horribly, horribly wrong.
Thank you, Arn. I love you too. Anyway, now that I have taken a fortifying drink of Texan vodka. Oh, Jesus Christ, it's like fucking paint thinner. Holy shit. A young man was staring at the window that has beautiful scenery in a nice small bedroom. Wait, what? The window that has beautiful scenery in the nice small bedroom. What? The window that has beautiful scenery. As opposed to the window that doesn't have beautiful scenery in the nice small bedroom? What? He has short black hair with red streak and, of course, silver eyes. The boy had a lean but muscular build. Oh my god. This is. This is because of young adult novels. The lean but muscular build thing. Do you think Crow was the edgy kid during class in Beacon? No, Raven was.
I mean, I think Crow would be the kid that was like napping in class.
Yeah. But lean but muscular. Fuck off.
Here's the thing, right? Like, the only time I ever thought a young adult novel was going to be allowed to get away with lean but muscular was when they did Ranger's Apprentice. And do you know
Oh
why
yeah.
that worked? Do you know why that worked? Because the kid was a fucking archer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, what people
what
don't
did he
realize
spend all
is
day doing? Pulling a bow.
yeah, what people don't realize is that when you get up into like the 100, 200 pound bows, not the training arrows you shot during summer camp, not the piddly shit that you shot maybe at archery club, but we're talking like war bow range, 100, 200 pounds.
Just for the
That
record,
shit's literally
I
full body.
believe in the book, they were using 150-pound longbows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that shit's literally like full body flex every time you fire an arrow.
Like, for real, kids, if you want to get in shape, take up actual archery.
Yeah. Also,
Like, listen,
fire from
I know
the right
people
side
who are
of the
like,
bow.
oh, listen, wrestling is what will get you in shape. And to an extent, they're absolutely right. But, like, if you want to get the YA lean but muscular,
I mean, with wrestling, you have the problem with wrestling is that you have to really carefully manage your weight because of the weight
yeah.
classes. But you're never going to be disqualified from an archery competition because you're heavy. But no, yeah, archery is real archery is definitely up there in alongside swimming in a athletic exercise that gives your entire body the lean but muscular build. Um, of course, I would say most of the people I grew up around were what I would call strong fats. The guys that you think are just fat, but are actually like, oh yeah, I just casually bench 350. Like, oh,
Wilson Fisk. They were all Wilson Fisk.
okay. Like my one of my grandfathers is a really good example of that because he cut wood. That was his like relaxation hobby that he did when he came home from work. Is he would cut wood.
Okay, first of all, what the fuck, Gramps?
And he was fucking ripped, but he was also really fat. And like you didn't really see the muscle on him until he started cutting wood and doing all the things that involve wood cutting and moving wood around. And then you're like, oh, he's ripped.
Oh, he could crush me.
Like straight shit on weekends. One of his hobbies was just to go around carrying trees back home, like trees that had fallen over. He would just load it into the trunk and trunk bed of his truck and just
Was he
carry
by
it back
any
home.
chance participating in a caber toss?
No, but he could. He definitely could have.
Yeah, not fucking surprised.
We had a lot of fucking cut wood. We used a lot too because we were in redneck country, and so we had a wood heater. But yeah, good times.
Yeah, anyway, point is, there's very, very specific sets of exercises you have to do to get lean but muscular.
Or you could bodybuild like a basic bitch. Crescent Rose has to weigh at least 100 pounds.
Bodybuilding, that's not gonna get you the lean but muscular.
No, it would, with very careful dieting and very specific weights. Like, bodybuilders typically would just keep going up in weight until they reach a certain weight. And for lean but muscular, you would likely be doing a lot of high intensity exercises with low weights. And really regulating your diet hard. To be fair, Crescent Rose has to weigh at least 100 pounds. I think using heavy melee weapons would get someone in shape. I mean,
we're not arguing in shape.
We're not arguing in shape. Lean but muscular is not in shape. Typically, people that get in shape have a decent amount of body fat still on them. Enough muscle to show through the body fat, but not like, bodybuilder tier where it's like, oh wow, you could wash clothes on those abs. That's bodybuilder. I'm talking about the guy that just looks good at a beach. Like, he doesn't look pudgy, but also doesn't look like all he does is sit there and oil himself every day while flexing.
Like, here's the thing. A full-time warrior, which is what hunters and huntresses are, they're not going to be lean but muscular. They're going to be cut as shit.
Yeah, they're going to be actually fairly hefty, because you also have to consider the sheer amount of food they are consuming due to the muscles and their normal activities, and that the days they're not doing all of those activities, they're still eating roughly the same amount of food. So I'm not saying they would become strong fats, but they would definitely be packing on both muscle and body fat. I doubt it's 100 pounds, because that would make it around Ruby's weight. Yeah, no, I would give Crescent Rose, a blade would be about maybe 10 pounds. Average rifle's about, the 50 calibers is 28 pounds, I believe. Cal rifle. I don't know. We're probably going to be on a list now, but let's see what we got here. This doesn't help me at all. We can, I guess, Google this to get a Wikipedia page, probably. I'll find the weight someday on this fucking thing. Price sheet. Damn it. How hard is it to find the fucking weight for this shit? Owner's manual, maybe? Use guide specifications? Yes, here we go. Weight, 30 pounds. So, her blade, I would put out around 10 to 15. 50 caliber rifles around 30. I would say, due to all the moving parts involved as well, I would put it around 50 to 60 pounds. Rabbit Girl from the new season? I haven't even watched the new season. I gave up on Ruby. We tried watching season 7. That's the current one, right?
Fuck if I know, I think.
We tried watching the most recent season. We got to, like, episode 3 or some shit, and we were just like, holy fuck. We literally can't do this anymore. Like, we used to just sit around, drink, and make jokes while laughing at it, but it's just gotten to the point where we were just like, we can't do this. We just can't do this. He was around 5'6" tall.
Alright, now that's a manlet.
Fucking manlet! Especially in the Rubyverse where everyone's like 6.5 to 8 feet. Fucking a 5'6" boy's like, holy shit, you're tiny. How's the weather down there, midget?
Yeah, like even what's the fucking name?
Ruby height
like
chart.
even Ruby is like what?
I'll tell you in a
5-something?
second. Character height chart. Here we go. That did not help me. You fucking Let me access this fucking. How do I fucking access this goddamn picture? God fucking. I hate these fandom websites sometimes where it's just like, oh, we're gonna hide how to get to this fucking picture. Because we're fucking okay, so Ruby is 5'3". John is 6'2", it looks like. Yeah, so actually, you know what? The average height of women appears to be. That 5 fucking foot?
I think.
Yeah, so the average height of women appears to be 5'3" to 5'5" in this show. And the average height of guys looks to be around 6'4"-ish. Leading up to 7 feet.
And then you've got, there's like Yang is absurdly tall.
No, she's like 6'7".
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
She's 6'7". Sorry, 5'7".
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
sorry. Yeah,
that...
brain had a minor glitch.
Significantly more.
Fucking Yang is just Amazon height. Come here, Ruby. I wish to give you a hug.
Fucking Andre the Giant, apparently.
I
know that's not.
Yeah,
she'd
no.
be the Andre the Giant of women, anyway.
But yeah, fucking Junior is Junior's a swole boy.
He's a large lad.
Meanwhile, fucking Neo is like 27, sitting at the low height of 4'9". Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah, because Yatsuhashi is like what?
7.
Yeah, 7. But I mean, like, Yatsuhashi's not even that much taller than Ironwood.
No, he's Ironwood looks to be punching in around 6'1". So he's about 11 inches taller.
Oh. You are correct. I just can't fucking read that chart.
Yeah, I know. I can barely read it.
Anyway.
Honestly, I think the only thing that this height chart needs is everyone needs to be T-posing. That would definitely improve this chart. Anyway, yeah. So
I'm gonna go quiet for a minute while I eat dinner.
Yeah,
but
you
I
do
am
that.
still here.
All right. Then I'll just wrap up this chapter, and we can go check out chapter 4's author's note. Apparently. And he's wearing a high collar, sleeveless black shirt with black gloves and black short pants with red sneakers. So he's a fucking edgy boy. How did this happen? How long has it been? I sat there and said out loud to myself, triggering the flashback. So basically, the author's background story is that one day he fell asleep and he died in his sleep peacefully. And now he's in Ruby. Except it's not Ruby. It's he found himself in a world where Ruby characters existed, but in a modern setting. Right, because Ruby doesn't take place in a modern setting, guys. Ruby actually takes place in the high fantasy medieval era. In this world, his, for some reason, capitalized identity is Rune Rose. Rune is not a color. Obligatory comment. There's Jesus Christ. I need to drink more. In a few days, he was completely in denial about this. Really. Oh, so he just skipped the whole birth thing. He was just suddenly Rune Rose. Okay. A jeweled butt plug. It would be what the author wanted. But he needed to come to terms with it, but, not... We're just going to ignore all the tense errors that this guy is making. Clearly he's a cartoonist, because he's never seen grammar in his fucking life. Rune sighs and grabs comic, and he's like, wow, this comic sucks shit. And then he's like, I am an otaku and also great artiste. I am going to reinvent the manga and take over the anime world. Wah ha 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 ha. Alright, chapter 4. This guy does porn commissions in Tumblr. I'm calling it. Maybe. Hello everyone, it's me, Rue, here with a new chapter. Anyway, it's been a very busy week, and I managed to finish this chapter just this week. Okay, again, it took him a week to write 1K words? The fuck? Like, literally, when I can get around to it, and not because it's like a time management issue, but it's more like a depression management issue, when I can get around to it, and I write, I put down more words in a single hour than this guy apparently does in a week. I want to apologize for any grammar mistakes and misspellings. English isn't my first language. And, guys, do you think I should introduce more video game characters into the story? But the condition is that they won't have any powers. It'll just be basically a cameo. And I'll change some of them into faunus to make it interesting. Summer eyes in surprise in hearing those words. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's like, look, I understand if English isn't your first language. I get it. English can be hard. You, however, have listed yourself as an American in America. You do not get to use the excuse, English is not my first language. It's obvious he's obviously illegal. I honestly would not be surprised by this. But he looks particularly white in his self-stylization of himself. So... Oh wow! He even has a scar going through his eye. Anyway, So enough about this shitbag here who can't be bothered to figure out what the English language is, even though he lives in America. Let's move on to this shitbag who lives in Malaysia. Code name: Lonely Dreamer. About me: I live in corporate company. I do fanfics. I like chatting with people. Let's see. He's done 4 stories. Have I covered the 4th beast? I have covered the 4th beast. Yes, we did. We did cover this. This is the really shit one, where he shows up in the middle of the execution of Kaneko to beat up all the devils simultaneously and just be like, my dick is bigger than y'all. Will I finally get to a Badenborn? You know what? I'll do that next. I just wanted to laugh at this guy again. But now that I have, let us go down to the Badenborn. Oh wait, that's cover track. Fanfiction. That's a Baden-Bornay by Publicity Speaking. 2.5 well-intentioned fools find themselves in the worm universe, gifted by a badoon. In their attempts to save some people, they may just doom everyone. Self-insert based on Worm CYOA Update Gamal. By Publicly Speaking and Brownie. Generic ass harem lord plots get old. Now underplayed creations. How can you possibly say that? That's totally racist.
All right,
to all the minorities living vicariously through white characters having large harems of white girls. Welcome back. I was just lecturing our audience on why they shouldn't be racist.
And why is that?
Because racism bad, don't you know?
Is it because if you're racist, you can't? If you're not, is it because if you're a white guy, you can't write good racism stories?
Yes. Which is actually very interesting if you think about it. Because everyone says that white people are super racist to minorities, but then this white guy who's the head of a, for some reason, still popular anime is claiming that he's unable to be racist because he's white. And everyone supports him in this.
Well, see, he can't write a real story about racism because he's not. He hasn't experienced it.
Sure. But wouldn't you be able to write the racism, though? Like, sure, you wouldn't be able to write the other side, the sympathetic side, but wouldn't you be able to then write authentic racist characters? Instead of just a douchebag who likes picking on people? To showcase the racism?
I mean, look, I wish I had a good answer for you. Other than that, Miles and Carrie are shit fucking writers. And it has nothing to do with their being white.
Yes.
Like, let's be clear here. Their shit writing is because they're just shit writers.
Also, wins war. gets exiled as the reward for their victory.
I'm sorry, wait, what?
In the Great Faunus War, the Faunus won, and their reward for winning was to be all of them were exiled to an island as the reward for winning.
Here's the thing. That island seems like a pretty sweet fucking deal.
Okay, it sort of is, except for their, underdevelopment. Extreme underdevelopment. And, well, I'm not
That's
saying...
true. It is an underdeveloped island, but you know what that island has a remarkable fucking lack of?
What?
Grim. They had a riot, and the Grim didn't show up.
I think that's just because of bad writing.
I mean, that's possible.
Because if that was true, that the island didn't have Grim problems, I'm fairly certain nobody would be allowed to have that island.
I said a remarkable lack of. I'm not saying it's Grim free.
I didn't say it was Grim free either. I just said lack of Grim problems.
I mean, that's fair. I'm just...
Yes, the underplayed creations, yes. The Faunus won the war and got sent to an island and called Menagerie, which means group of animals.
Hey guys, we sent the dwarfs to... That'd be like saying we sent the dwarfs to It's a Small World After All ride. Like,
hey guys, the dwarfs have beat us at war. We shall give them a tropical island named Midgetland.
That's basically what happened. Really not a small look, guys.
Zeke says the Faunus. Zeke says the reason why there isn't Grim problems on Menagerie is because Grim don't attack animals.
Here's the thing. I know Arn's just being a racist asshole.
No, that was Zeke's.
But, oh, right, I'm sorry. Arn is still a racist asshole.
Yes.
In this case, Zeke's is also a racist asshole. My apologies, Arn. I'm just so used to putting your name in there. Like, if that was an actual thing, like, because of their animal heritage, the Grimm, like, had a harder time detecting...
Okay, like, I could actually see that being a source of, like, the enmity? Enmity? Am I saying that correct?
Enmity.
Yes. Between humans and Faunus, and the humans are like, oh, you guys don't get attacked by Grimm as much as we do. So fuck you!
You're part rabbit.
Yeah. You fucking animals.
But here's the thing. It could go the other way too, right? Like, make them, like, the coolest thing in the world, right? They all become hunters. And they're always out there, like, doing, like, like, they're the ones that end up being, like, runners and stuff, right?
Yeah, basically, Arn, yeah. The reason why I used dwarves was because I didn't want to go down that route. Yeah, I didn't want to have a gamer moment, too soon.
You didn't want to accidentally PewDiePie yourself?
Yes. I want to intentionally PewDiePie myself when I'm ready.
I would say, yeah, we gotta be bigger before we can get away with that.
Yeah. But yeah, just the premise behind the Faunus and Menagerie is fucking mind-blowing on the list of how the fuck did this get passed.
Like, do you think they were like, yeah, we'll give you guys an island? Well, what's the island? Nah, it's an unnamed island. Don't worry about it. And then when they finally get there, they were like, by the way, it's called Menagerie, lol.
It's in Lamau. Hey, Lamau. But yeah, no, it is like, in terms of narrative writing, it's like, how the fuck Did you think that was a good plan?
And I'd be really curious to know who came up with the name for that island, because if it was like Monty, fucking shame on Monty.
Yeah, well, I mean, not well. Yeah, again, but I mean, I will defend Monty using the excuse. Monty is an animator, nothing else. He is not a writer.
Yeah, that's true.
There are only 4 internet towers in the capital cities. Animals get fucked with the internet. Yeah, that's actually also a canonical thing. Is that there is no CCT tower in Menagerie, so they straight shit can't use scrolls. That's just a thing. That's why I was talking about the underdeveloped part as well. Is that they don't apparently have any sort of waste treatment because all of their houses are made of pure wood and thatch, and they don't appear to have any sort of waste treatment set up. They don't have paved roads to manage the water when it rains because they are on a tropical island. They don't have any sort of sewer system. They don't have any sort of electricity. They use fucking torches. It definitely does not scream we beat the 4 countries in a war. Is what I'm saying. Also, another thing I would like to point out is that I'm not really sure what the Faunists were thinking, in how this whole war thing would go down. Yeah, we are a minority. We don't like you treating us like shit, so we're gonna launch a war on you all. Okay, we're going to war. Okay, and now that we've beaten you all, you're gonna all respect us for the massive slaughters we have committed upon your people. Also give us our own land. And that's how they ended up in Menagerie. With no internet. Or electricity. Or working toilets. Truly, it is the exaltation of the winners.
The entire thing is just so dumb.
But it's like but then on top of that they're like, "Oh, why does everyone hate us and why is everyone so racist to us?" Oh, I don't know. Maybe it was the massive slaughter in the World War you started, Germany. I mean Menagerie. I mean Faunus.
I mean, be fair. Apparently, they'd been getting the real short end of the stick for a while there.
Yeah, Germany. That's what I just said.
I know.
Why does everybody hate us? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because you fucking kill the shit ton of people?
I mean, Second War, yes. First War, no. The First War was literally the fault of a dude who got pissy and went to eat. That is probably the craziest thing to me about, like... Okay, so World War II had all kinds of crazy stuff in it. Like, in terms of, like, crazy plans that people came up with to fuck with the other side, right?
Yeah.
But World War I literally started with a failed assassination attempt that then succeeded because a carriage got diverted and it happened to pass by one of the assassin's sandwich shop where he went to get a sandwich because he was sad that they failed. And he's like, "I'll get a pastrami on rye. That'll cheer me up. I like the sandwiches here." And Franz Ferdinand's car just happened to pass by there, and he was like,
Time for a gamer moment.
But that's the problem. That's how it happened.
I know.
Are you kidding me? If the dude had just eaten his sandwich faster, World
Yeah.
War One never would have happened.
Yeah.
Like, just going back in time, like, you could change the entire course of history by going back and slapping a sandwich out of a dude's hand.
That would be something. That would be something. But yeah, Ruby just baffles me on something. I could literally rant for the next hour about all the baffling shit that's in Ruby that makes absolutely contradictory sense. World War One would have just been delayed. I mean, honestly, in all things considered, yeah, it's likely. The amount of packs,
You're right, it would have been delayed, but
it probably
even
would have had
just
a better
delaying it,
reasoning.
I was just saying, even just delaying it would have dramatically altered the way everything played out.
Yeah, that's true enough. Yeah.
It might not have been Germany that got the short end of the stick. Also,
Now
I want to point out
that's an interesting AU. Instead of Germany being the provocateur in World War One, it's like Britain or something, and they get shit on instead.
Yeah, or even World War One came tragically close to being averted, and it was just there was some diplomatic breakdowns. Imagine if it had been delayed 5 years, 10 years, when those, when politics had been a little more settled, right? It might not have happened.
The longer the war, the more likely Germany was to win. As far as World War One goes, more or less, yeah, I will agree to that one. I mean, just like imagine it's like fucking. Yes, I've stopped World War One. Travels back to the future. He looks into history book. World War One was started by what? It can't be. It's impossible.
The
Luxembourg.
French?
Oh, we went in completely different directions.
Yes, we did.
We went in absolutely different directions.
All right, no, hold on, Sneaky. What would be the most ridiculous country to start World War One?
Ethiopia.
Good point, but they weren't a power. They couldn't. They weren't like a powerhouse.
Poland.
Yeah, Poland was actually quite problematic. That, or can you imagine? World War One was started by America. They saw the fractured state of Europe and decided that that's free real estate.
It's time to get our 51st through 60th states.
Europe.
Oh, that would be something. But so yeah, let's get back on track here, and then I guess I'll rant about Ruby after this. This is a Bad and Born. Of course, it's the if you've forgotten, it was the Worm CYOA, which stands for Choose Your Own Adventure, which basically is a really cheap way of saying make your own character, but they're all really overpowered. But because it's a choose your own adventure template, it's totally legit, bro. Don't knock it. By buying Alaska instead of the US buying Alaska, Liechtenstein could have ended up in a diplomatic incident with Britain, Canada, and the US, and they would have been backed by Austria and Germany. Yeah. And yeah, the American AU World War One could have happened as well. Russia likely would have tried to take advantage of it and destabilize their country using war. And so basically, Europe would have been slammed by both America and Russia. That would have been interesting.
Well, and if Russia had been able to stabilize with land and money, communism might not have taken off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Russia stabilized. That's never gonna happen. I mean, that's a fair enough point, but it could have in this AU.
Relatively stable.
The revolution was inevitable after 1905. It was only a question of time. Um. Uh. Maybe. Likely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's always the possibility, though, that
That's true, but it certainly would have been harder for a revolution to take off if they just won a successful war, right? The
like
government
right
is
now,
inept.
like right now in America, where it's really hard to argue against Donald Trump as a president when everyone's pockets are padded. And it's like, well, I mean, the economy is doing pretty good, and I'm doing pretty good.
Well,
So,
that's why the Democratic Party knows that in addition to this being America, of course, they know that a socialist candidate won't win.
what if Lenin got unpersoned before he came into Russia? That would have been interesting, yeah. I mean, it probably would have had someone else or a series of someone else's who were not as charismatic as him, but each progressed the revolution or the revolutionary ideas to a certain degree before eventually dying or falling. Yeah, Trotsky, Stalin, others. Yeah.
I mean, shit. Imagine if they just had what's his face, horrible person, killed millions of people. Can't remember his name because he's not important. Had a terrible mustache. Stalin.
We already said Stalin.
But I'm saying, imagine if he hadn't been around to fuck up the
now
succession.
here's an AU for you guys, because if you knew this, Hitler was actually originally a communist. He had different ideas, however, about how to implement communism in the country, and ended up splitting the party. Well, maybe not splitting the party, but ended up breaking off from the German Communist Party. Here's an AU for you. He ended up being exiled from Germany and went into Russia, and then led the led the Hitlerist revolution in Russia for communism.
Oh, Lord. That would
Yeah. just ponder upon that one. Germany, in its depression, ends up falling back on the monarchy, and they become a monarchy again. Should they try to reignite the Holy Roman Empire?
Oh, Lord. Sneaky, should we try to fit that into? We should totally fit that into our story that we're writing.
The Brave New
Which,
World.
by the way, we should work on that sometime.
We should, yeah. We should. In the time of need, Germany looks for a savior and one appears. Alright, I'm waiting for it, Arn. Tanya Fontaine! No, fuck off, Arn.
Yes! Excellent! You know, honestly, I'm a little annoyed that the author spoiled the ending of the entire series by going, by the way, Germany's still gonna lose.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I wanted Tanya to win, especially because they're not Nazis.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I guess, yeah. Oh, man. That would be a fucking AU. The Hitlerist communist revolution in Russia. The Germany falling back on the monarchy and trying to restart the HRE. Poland being the instigators of World War One.
Okay, but why? Here's the thing. I'm down, but we gotta figure out why.
I mean, that wouldn't go into our story, but that would just be a really interesting AU, though. As far as why, I don't know. Maybe Poland's offended by the attempt at the HRE without them.
Possible?
The Poles demand reunification. Yes, it's a reunification war of the Polish Commonwealth.
Okay, but actually,
This is happening, fam. And then instead of coming to help while this world war is brewing, instead of coming to help, America's just like, but what if we just surprise attacked all of them?
it's free real estate.
It's free real estate.
No, no, for real. America was super colonizer. What?
Time for some reverse colonization, Europe.
Okay, but like, here's the thing, right? We had a navy strong enough to get troops onto Britain, and Britain would be defenseless.
Yes, more or less.
So we'd show up, occupy Britain, and be like, "We've come to make sure that our British brethren stay safe."
Colonize France and Spain while we're at it. Ever heard of the
Yeah,
Royal
I mean,
Navy?
look, all I'm saying is,
They'll never see it coming, Lauren.
Britain is America's gateway to Europe.
The fleet is our wooden wall and all that. I mean, they wouldn't know we were going to attack them until we landed troops on their land. That's the whole part of the surprise bit, you know? When Britain thinks it's America coming to their aid, it's like, nope, surprise. Actually, you're our 51st state now. Ireland can be the 52nd state. So they don't
Hey,
feel left
Ireland,
out.
you want to leave the EU?
Actually, they don't. They
I
really
know.
like being in the EU. But that's also because they're being paid a lot of money by the EU. Which it has interesting political ramifications currently. But yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say it would be quite possible for us to go. Yeah, we're here to help. Obviously, we're gonna have to land our troops there to help and stuff. Oh well, yeah, of course. We've been on good terms for quite some time.
surprise! We have destroyed your monarchy. You're now been annexed.
Dear Britain, you are now the 51st state.
That's how the tables have turned.
Oh come on! And then we just say to Wales, "Hey, you can totally be Wales, and you can totally self-govern. You just have to agree to become the 52nd state."
No, or a what's a protectorate. Just like how Puerto Rico is.
Yep. By the way, you guys will have all the same rights and other stuff as Britain, but Britain won't be running you the show anymore.
It's time for some big dick America.
No, Sneaky, better yet. We make Britain the bitch-ass Commonwealth, and we offer the other British Commonwealth.
Hawaii never gets colonized. Oh my god. You're right, Underplayed Creations. Hawaii wouldn't be a state yet. So Britain becomes the 50th state. And because we colonized Europe, we never, really sought out Hawaii. So Pearl Harbor never happens. So America never gets involved in World War II because, of course, we already own Europe.
No, we'd get involved in World War II because they would probably take one of the American colonies.
Yes. But instead of a disorganized reaction, it's just America versus Germany right off the bat. But we all know Poland would actually eat Germany. And so it'd be Poland versus Russia versus America. Truly the great powers of the world. That's an AU I can get behind. Oh god, I've been pinged.
Now that we've constructed the world's most amusing AU,
Anyway. Yes! Conception Arc 1.1. It started, as too many things do, with screaming. I mean, if you're like in media res, or you're opening with an action scene, I guess. But or births, deaths. I mean, there's not a lot of screaming elsewhere, to be honest. Births, deaths, or you're being shot at.
you forgot to include sex. That happens sometimes.
Oh yeah, I forget sex quite often.
We know.
Anyway, so I came to with blood pounding through my veins, colors dancing in my vision, and a sound both similar to and completely unrelated with wind whistling past my ears as the sense of falling kick-started my heart into overdrive. Or you're in Brockton Bay? That's fair enough. A yell of terror mixed with the excitement reverberating around wherever I was sounded oddly familiar. Twisting around, a sea of prismatic light surrounded me, flowing past me as I descended the strange gale. Pushing. I'm already falling asleep to this story. Pushing
Sorry, I'm
against
just
me
bored by this drivel.
and twisting me around, I covered clouds that we moved through, the figure leaving a comet trail of gold and purple fire behind him as he fell, the royal purple conflagration dancing in the intermixing of flames that looked to be flickering and shimmering golden statues of fire. Golden statues of fire? The two intermixing, distinct and separate, but moving in tandem. Jesus Christ, the fucking prose on this. I mean, you know, normally if this was an original story, I'd be like, okay, I'm somewhat interested. Bit heavy on the prose, but I'm interested. But this is a worm story. This is a worm CYOA story. So the prose is actually making me less interested because you still haven't explained what the fuck is going on and why I should care. Being that you are a fan fiction and not an original property trying to set the mood. I tried to approach it, flailing my arms in a swimming motion ineffectively, doing nothing but sending me spinning at nausea-inducing angles as I passed through another cloud. I almost groaned at my stupidity. Dumbass. I'm not swimming. I'm falling. A little bit of a tense issue there. If he's berating himself, it wouldn't be I'm not swimming, I'm falling. It'd be you're not swimming, you're falling. Because of how the English language operates. I mean, technically speaking, I'm is still correct, but if you are narratively berating yourself, when something's going on, you go, it's like you do something stupid, you go, you idiot, in your mind. You don't go, I am an idiot. You do that when it is a slow process where you come to a realization and you're like, oh, I am fucking retarded.
I imagine for most of these authors, it's a very, very slow ongoing process.
Some may not even reach the final stage where they come to the realization. But yeah, anyway, so as I was saying, how he starts the sentence with dumbass indicates that it is a beration, and how he finishes it using a capital letter exclamation point means it is quick. So instead of being read as dumbass, I am not swimming, I'm falling. It'd be, you dumbass, you're not swimming, you're falling! Educational! Spreading my limbs at an angle to divert airflow worked much better, stopping my spin and setting me slowly drifting to my way closer to the person. With just your limbs? Fine, I'll give that a pass. Who had stopped yelling and was now twisting back and forth, drifting with purpose, seemingly aiming for clouds to pass through. As I drew closer, the shape sharpened without intervening clouds, and I realized it was my best friend, named Herb. His parents were hippies. A man who was my opposite in many ways. I yelled when I was a couple dozen feet away, trying to be heard over the near howling, not wind. Herb, who was casually spinning, jerked and lost control, pinwheeling off to the side. Holy shit, he exclaimed, the sound reaching me as if he was right next to my ears. Flailing in an attempt to do the same unrestrained spirals I had just been in. I drifted closer and tried to grab him to help, getting knee in the ribs before trapping his leg, letting him rebalance. Pushing off slightly, I moved us so we were roughly face to face. Dude, what's going on? He yelled, causing me to wince. Just talk. I can hear you just fine. I responded. I have no idea. I woke up here. I continued in a normal tone, trying to keep myself from drifting away, the winds whipping at our faces and clothing as we attempted to keep stable. Same here. Wait, are you on fire? That's a very calm question to ask someone. Hey, I know we're falling to our deaths here, but have you noticed that you are on fire? Don't you think so, Atin? It's a very calm way to ask someone.
I think it's stupid.
You're not liking the narrative so far?
Stupid.
Oh, come on, man! This is an excellent narrative. It's so amazing and riveting, with its prosy need to describe falling, but not actually falling through the air as they fall through the air. An expression of disbelief written across his features, turning over in the air to lay on my back. I saw that I also had a trail of flames pouring out of me, forming a tail of bloody red with purple, the same shade as my friend's stream. I wordlessly pointed above him as he turned as well, seeing the track he was making with a shout of, "Holy shit, that's awesome." He turned to look at me, grinning. This is so effing awesome. So, this actually is going to bring me to another reason why I'm going to temporarily stop reading this story and proceed to rant a little bit. Tiny bit. Small bit. Not really a big issue here, but when it comes to certain words being used in your story. Now, there is a lot of reasons why you would need to censor or self-censor yourself when it comes to writing a narrative in a story. Some publishers won't accept certain words being used. Sometimes using certain words is just not good for sales. Limiting yourself to certain swears and other such things. It's all fine and dandy when you do that. Don't get me wrong. But you are the author, which means you are always in control of everything your characters say. And if you are uncomfortable with your characters cursing,
Don't make them curse.
Then don't make them curse. Swearing is not a mandatory communication basis. When something happens, you can have them go, "Oh my god." They can say, "Wow," or "Ugh," or, if you're really determined to not make them swear. But don't, as this author did, or don't, as I see so many fanfiction authors do, have a swear that is bleeped out. If the swear, in your opinion, needs to be used to fully express the current mood of a character, then use the swear. If the swear does not need to be there, then don't use the swear. Unless your story is some sort of parody, humor, self-aware story where the words are bleeped intentionally, like it's a Deadpool comedy, like, oh, Deadpool PG, where everything Deadpool says is basically bleeped out because none of it's fucking PG, and that's the joke. That's when you can bleep and still write shit. But if your story is, say, hypothetically, rated M, but you don't like swearing, you're not required to swear. Your characters aren't required to swear. You don't need to put it in.
You definitely don't need to do this self-censoring nonsense.
Like, it is irrational of me, and I will fully admit that, but it is one of my largest pet peeves, and it is an almost near 99% guaranteed way to make me drop a story, is when a character goes, "Oh fuck," but but the UCK or the FUCK is just starred out, and it's like, I know what you're saying here, so why bleep it out? If you're trying to convey the character is panicked and they are swearing because they don't have an articulate response to make, then the character says, "Oh fuck." If you have something against swearing and you don't want swearing in your story, but the character really needs to swear, I guess that's just tough shit and you need to become a better fucking author.
Or get over yourself. That one's an option too.
If you're uncomfortable with a scenario or words being said, not even swears, just words in general, certain opinions being held, then don't put them into your story. If you don't like rape to the point where you don't ever want to hear, see, or talk about it, then don't put rape into your story. If you don't like characters beating the shit out of each other because one guy wronged another, then don't put it into your story. If you don't like something, you aren't required to put it into your story.
Unless you don't like characters acting like, acting in a reasonable manner
that
for
comes
the character.
that comes with the territory of that comes with the territory of being a fan of a work. If you're gonna try and write the Goblin Slayer world, but no woman ever gets raped, it's like, well, what are you writing then? Part of the horror of the Goblin Slayer world is that women get raped by goblins to the point of where they want to die. That's part of the horror of the world. And if you have an issue with that, A, why are you reading Goblin Slayer? B, why are you writing Goblin Slayer? C, why are you even in this fandom at all? I'm not saying you have to enjoy rape or like any of these topics. But
yeah, I would say, let's be clear here. They are bad things.
Yeah,
we are in
they
no
are
way suggesting
obvious bad things.
Yeah.
But just because something is bad thing doesn't mean it needs to be scrubbed out of existence because you can't tolerate it. It just means you need to portray the bad thing as a bad thing. And if you really don't like talking about the bad thing, then you can just minimize its screen time in the story you are in control of. It is... It's like a Harry Potter story. It's like a Naruto story where they're like, oh, I don't like it when Snape bullies Harry. So I'm going to portray Snape as, like, Snape, but times 20. And that, like, he, like, fucking corners Harry in the closet and rapes him just to show how awful Snape is. And it's like, if you don't like Snape as a character, just don't include him in your scenes. Just be like, oh yeah,
been done by really fucking creepy people.
Yeah, that was an actual example from an actual story. Like, just be like, oh yeah, there's Snape on the teacher's table, and oh yeah, Snape teaches potions, and boy, does Harry really hate potions. And now we're just gonna move on with the story, and we're just never gonna have a potion scene. We're just never really gonna have any scenes with Snape in it. He's just, there, and everyone knows what Snape's like to Harry, and that's just how he does it. Except I'm not giving it any screen time because I just really hate the guy. It's like, okay, makes sense. You don't need to go the extra mile to make him the extra bad because you really don't like him. It's like, generally people don't like Snape, so most people would be like, okay, you do not like Snape, so you don't like writing Snape, so you're not going to write Snape. Okay. That's the general reaction most people would have.
I would like to not write the giant raging douchebag. Yeah, that's fair.
But it's the same thing with swearing. It's the same thing with any fucking topic you dislike. It's like if you put it in, put it in. If you don't want it in there, then don't put it in. It would be like writing a scene where Harry is being bullied by Snape, except every mention of Snape is censored out. It's like we know what you're talking about. Why are you censoring it? Like with stars and asterisks, or the classic like just mashing the shift number key. It's like why?
Would you
I
just
don't
say it?
understand. I fundamentally cannot understand the people that do that. And I've even seen stories in which the story started with cursing. The characters are saying fuck and shit and oh no and whatever. No, Jesus fucking Christ and whatnot. And then like the latest chapter gets released and now all the swears are censored. And it's just like what are you doing? What are you doing there, champ? But anyway, yeah, let's just finish up this story and call it a night, I suppose. Um. Anyway, so they're falling through endless void, and it's really garbage tier grammar and interaction and dialogue. It's really not interesting at all. Where they're just like, "Hi, do you know what's going on?" No, man, I don't know what's going on. We're falling, man. Yeah, we're falling, man. Um. Oh, do you think we died, man? Oh, maybe. I don't think so though, because this doesn't really sound like hell. Fuck you, man. Why would I end up in hell? Oh, it's because we're both stupid jerks. Um. Oh man, we're falling, and then he as he's falling, he's getting powers. Um. And they're as they're falling, they keep getting more powers. And the author has the guy curse a bunch. And all they're both super buff now. Blah blah blah. Powers. They're getting more powers. They're getting more powers. Um, effing white people. He said. Okay. Abaddon. Blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. Earthbat. Blah blah with powers. Blah blah. Simurg. Yep. The Smurg was here, that means we were in Worm, the grimdark superhero story, which I skimmed and Herb had never finished reading. The story that would result in the destruction of every Earth ever if everything didn't go exactly right, and even if it did, it would result in the suffering of tens of billions. Well, fuck. Honestly, that's the other part of my disinterest in, how you say, worm CYOAs, is that Worm is a very strict, exact events happening at exact times to get an exact result domino effect that ended up with humanity being saved after colossal casualties. And I don't understand CYOAs that aren't basically just instant win, counter everything, and then story is boring. Because the butterfly effect is a thing, and if those dominoes don't fall exactly as how they're supposed to, good fucking luck winning. Because you now have to originally create an assload of content to even get the win end now. Just by existing. Just by existing and interacting with the world at all. You've already basically fucking doomed everyone. So it just feels like a lot, and Worm itself is around 1,000,000 words long, and that just feels like a lot of work just to have a power fest. I mentioned that. So, I don't think I've ever read a single Worm CYOA. I did read Axe story, ACK, Security, where the character ends up as an unpowered security guard. And then through a series of exacting and precise events that he engineered using the knowledge of the entirety of Worm to do so. He shortcutted the exact events needed to win. A lot of Worm hinges on Smurg and Gatessa. Yeah. Yeah, it does. So now, don't get me wrong. I on the other hand, I can understand why people would want to write, Doom Marine in Worm, or X character or X power in Worm, because at that point it's not so much as to save the world. It's to just explore that power and how it would interact with the Worm world. I mean, I guess the author might be under the delusion of saving the world and getting the good end, but to me, it really is just how would canonical power from series XYZ change how everyone would act. One of my current favorites is fucking hell, what is it called? Y'all Are Stupid, where Taylor finds the glasses of your boy Guzma, and because of those glasses, ends up taking up breakdancing, and no powers are involved. No, until way later, no powers are involved at all. It's just
completely changes the entire story just by bringing a positive environment.
Yeah. It's why I love that story, because it's like, yeah, Pokemon get introduced, but it's like, 30 some chapters into the story, with each chapter being like 5K words, and so it's like way later down the line Pokemon get introduced.
I haven't read that story in forever. How's it going?
He actually just restarted it and reduxed it because he did write himself into a couple of plot holes. One being, why does anyone care about the dance-off arc? That being the arc that he stopped his original story on. Because it was like, he introduced Pokemon, and they were doing all this shit with Pokemon, and then just randomly decided to do basically what amounts to a filler arc, where they all got onto a bus and drove to a, what's that movie? About dancing? Competitions?
I don't fucking know.
Step Off or something?
Step Up, isn't it?
Step Up, yeah.
Jesus Christ, you can tell I worked in a video store.
Here's me vaguely remembering a possible name of it. Here's Atin just being like, puzzle piece, I can deal with consumer time.
My favorite was when people were like, it was this movie with Tom Cruise.
Which one?
That's like 1,000 movies. I'm gonna need a little more, lady.
You're gonna have to narrow that one.
Well, it came out in this year.
Doesn't narrow that too much. Now,
What? Tom Cruise was in a movie in 2007? Holy shit. Would have guessed.
Now, so yeah, as far as Abaddon Born is, it's very prosy. The grammar is mostly correct. The spelling is appearing to be 99.99% correct as far as I can tell.
We've gotten nowhere interesting in the first chapter.
The first chapter is supposed to be this big lead up, as if it wasn't obvious already, being that it's in the worm section, and the summary tells you they get powers, and the first chapter is just, hey, this is Worm, and they get powers, and it's like, wow, no fucking shit. Who could have seen that coming? I thought this was Metroid, and they were all mushrooms. You know. So it's a very poor hook, is what I'm trying to say. I really couldn't give a shit about this story, and I couldn't give a shit to see if it was good or not. If I had read this story on my own, I might not have immediately dropped it, but it would definitely be within like 2 or 3 chapters. I likely would have dropped it if this pattern continues, because I'm just getting nothing out of this. This is not drawing me in. This is not interesting. The dialogue is cringy friend dialogue. That exists, I guess, is the highest praise I can give it. He does an okay job of describing the various powers they're getting through use of narrator observation, but most powers more or less are instinctual.
Also, just something annoying. You never see people, rarely do you see people writing 40k stories where they're willing to go like, yeah, this person is using demon powers, and sure, they start off as a nice person, but, you know, they keep using demon powers. Like, as bad as a series as it is, I haven't seen anyone go the necessary steps to give us something like, say, fuck, what was it? Who was the dude who slowly went crazy because of chaos at...
You're gonna have to be more specific.
No, I'm sorry. I got cut off because I was looking at what you were typing. One of the original Space Marines.
You're gonna have to be more specific.
Was in Horus's Legion, stole the magic murder sword.
Oh fuck.
No, it was one of the Emperor's children that stole the magic murder sword.
Are you sure it wasn't Magnus?
No. Magnus wasn't the one who initially stole the magic murder sword.
Oh fuck. I'm drunk and I'm drawing a blank. But as it says on the screen here, it is instead a rant on Ruby. Now there's a lot to complain about when it comes to Ruby. You can complain about character portrayals. You can complain about the logistics. You can complain about countries. There's so much to complain about. But what my biggest gripe is the contradictions found within Ruby. And I know that doesn't really narrow it down, but I'm talking about the backstory contradictions. I know that doesn't really narrow it down a lot. They fight a war for individuality. But they all go to only 5 schools. They all operate under the express your individuality through your weapon individuality. Even if it makes the weapon completely ineffective and basically barring you from ever successfully becoming a huntsman and or likely getting your team killed. They all use the exact same scroll, phone, video game, console, portable computer, internet device, TV. They all, all of their names are colors. So individual, so like fucking individualizing, and really tells you apart from the crowd when there's 50 people with the various languages that don't exist in that world with names for the color white and yellow and red and blue. Very, very individual. Like, again, this is another consistency thing. These characters are in canon. Like, this is a canonical reason. They had the color war, and in response to the color war, the survivors of the color war, when they had children, named their kids colors. Now, you would be like, but Weiss is white in German. German doesn't exist in Ruby. French doesn't exist in Ruby.
Chinese doesn't exist in Ruby.
Like, none of these languages exist in Ruby. At least with the Chinese last names. You could say that was a cultural thing that came from an ancient kingdom in Mistral or something. You can still excuse that part because that's a name, but these are words. These are words that mean X color in English from foreign languages. And yes, I am aware that Zhao Long means something dragon or whatever the fuck. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever. But it's also like how we have last names of Baker and Smith and Shoemaker. Maybe at some point someone had a semblance that summoned a dragon or made them look like a dragon, or they were dragon faunus. So they were called blank dragon.
Just a side note, dragon faunus, that would actually be kind of cool.
That would be kind of cool. Dinosaur faunus would also be pretty neat.
So what can you do? Oh, you see these scales that are all over me? They make me basically unkillable. What?
But, the German doesn't exist. The French doesn't exist. And I don't mean like culturally doesn't exist. I mean the language doesn't exist. You can still have references the German architecture because you could have a similar environment to Germany producing similar architecture. Okay. But why is there no other languages then? Like, if they had shown a single other language in Ruby at all, ever, I would have been like, oh, okay, so there's other languages in Ruby, which means that all of these names could potentially exist in these, clear, obvious Ruby version of German, Ruby version of French, etc. languages. But that doesn't happen. It's never showcased. It's never talked about. It's never explained. It's literally a mono language across the world. Some people randomly have accents that make no fucking sense for just having the characters be different, I guess. It frustrates me. It frustrates me greatly. The same thing goes for the weapon names, where, oh yeah, this is Meinester. Yeah, it means something something in German, when translated to English. It's like, okay, well, German doesn't exist though. We've never had any indication ever that any of these languages existed at all. Like, fucking Christ, was it season 6 or whatever, when they went back in time? Using the genie wish to see Ozpin's memories.
Not really going back in time, but yes.
I know. One of the easiest things they could have ever done as an indication that language existed in Ruby beyond just English is, the scene starts playing out and they're all speaking another language because they asked Jin to show them what Ozpin saw. And Ozpin would have, listened, heard, and responded in a language that they don't know.
And then just have them go, what the fuck is he saying?
And they would have been like, hold on, time out, Jin, we need to be able to understand it. And she would be like, okay, I'll translate it for you.
Or even something just like, wait, we don't understand what he's saying. And then she goes, oh, right. Let me fix that.
Yeah. It doesn't need to take long, less than 30 seconds. Bing, bang, boom, fixed it. Indication languages existed. Excuse made. But it doesn't. At all. And sure, they reference ancient ruins of other civilizations. But as we saw, the the first civilization post global wipeout spoke one language. Everyone spoke the same language back then. And they never diverted since.
Not when they fucked off and formed different kingdoms or anything.
Or not when they went into different environments. No. All those language rules that occur, like why people from Utah have drastically different accents from people from New York compared to people from Florida. It's because of the environment. Certain words were pronounced a certain way because of certain ancestry. And as either those people became popular or that word began to be used more, or certain events happened that,
Well, and don't forget, just general. We've been away from X place for 7 years, so stuff starts getting messed up.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe again, you can actually point to internet culture actually being a very interesting linguistical accelerationist. Like our generation uses the word yeet yeet doesn't exist, technically speaking, beyond our generation and the generation following us. It's a new word we made up that has meanings. It's pronounced this way. And that's how language works. Before the internet,
honed has become a word.
Yeah. But before the internet is what I'm trying to say is that New York would come up with the word schlep. And then Florida would come up with a new word skeet, and then Utah would come up with the word I don't know blubber, and none of those words exist in the other areas. And then a trader from New York comes down to Florida, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I gotta go schlep." And the Floridians are like, "What the fuck does that mean?" And he goes and does something, and they're like, "Oh, it sort of means like this." But now because of the Floridian language drift has been occurring a little bit, and they say certain vowels differently now a little bit, just a little bit, noticeable if you speak that language as a primary language, but not too big, not drastic. But they call it sleep. That's how language drift occurs. But nope, none of that happens at all. Everyone pronounces all of the words the exact same way, and they always have, ever since the dawn of time. Sure. More individuality contradictions. Atlas starts a world war with the world. All 4 countries.
3. They're one of 4. Sneaky.
I know, that's what I'm saying. All 4 countries.
Oh, my apologies.
And then when they lose, or maybe they won. No. I think it was they lost. Yeah, I think they lost. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. Point is, they start a world war, kill shit tons of people. And eventually the war ends. And Atlas comes out and says, "Hey, we wish to install a wireless radio, TV, internet, cell phone tower. Also, we just invented all of these technologies too that you didn't have all as well. And we're going to give you internet, cell phone, wireless, television, radio as well. And we want to install these towers in the capital of every city."
Also, we're the ones who control it, and we're the only ones allowed to service it.
Yeah.
Also, it's super convenient, so you should route all of your sensitive communications through it.
In fact, all of your communications are mandatory routed through this. Also, it's proprietary, and no, we won't tell you how we built them. Countries would definitely accept that. 100%. It'd be like if Soviet Russia went around post World War II, and they were just like, hey, Germany, we're just going to install this wireless tower here that's going to bring you advanced technology, except you're not allowed to actually touch it. Only we can touch it, but we will allow you to use it. Also, every communication you'll ever make from now on has to go through it.
Unless you want to, have it done by hand in a pigeon like a schlep.
Yeah. Reminds me of a new anime I've been seeing where most people are animals, and while the guys are true animal hybrids, the girls are like 85% human with animal features. Meh. To be fair, post-World War II Germany was not in a position to say no to the Soviet Union. Okay, that's a fair example. Okay, maybe they went down to Italy and Spain, and they also did this in Italy, Spain, France, Britain, and America. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter how many countries they do it to. The general idea is maybe this one country couldn't say no, but the fact that all of them completely agreed entirely, and not a single one in the past 80 years has ever tried to develop any of the technology on their own. What's that? Hold on, I'm getting a call. Uh-huh. Yeah, China, I'll tell them. Yeah, China says fuck that bullshit. As much as we love to harp on China for all their intellectual property theft, China is a fantastic example of people not just sitting there and going, yeah, I'll just let you invent all this shit without also stealing it and trying to do it myself.
Well, I mean, even just look at 5G.
Yeah. Like, literally.
No. Like, look at all the countries that are going, yeah, maybe we shouldn't use this. How do you say it? Hawaii?
Hawaii. Yeah, Hawaii. I believe Hawaii is how you say it.
Like, all the people who went, hey, isn't this company owned by China?
I believe America is implementing its own variant of 5G in response, but at the same time, they're still just like, yeah, no, you're not putting in communication towers that only you are allowed to have access to. That's not fucking happening. And literally, no one would ever. Yeah, Verizon.
And the U.S. government is going, hey guys, so you do know that this company is owned by the Chinese government, right? And look, we found, like, basically uncoded communication saying, boy, I can't wait for all the dumbasses to let us put this in their country and then use it to steal their information.
Yeah. And it's exactly that. Like, no one would sit there and just accept a monolith. Like, fucking Google, for example. Absolute monolith of a search engine these days. Yet, still, to this day, people are creating new search engines with new features and new, services in the search engine to try and match Google, to try and beat Google, to try and be the next Google, because humans don't stagnate well. When we stagnate, we kind of get really murdery. But we really like trying our luck. Even if the idea of beating Google at the search engine game is basically impossible, that doesn't mean at least hundreds of people every year won't try.
I mean, come on. People use Bing.
Yeah. So it's completely nonsensical. Absolutely, utterly nonsensical that sort of system would ever be set up. Like, it's not even like the four nations are in some sort of super compact or something. It's like they literally just got out of the war, and like 3 years later, Atlas comes to them with this technology. Just in time to have rebuilt their entire military, they come to all the other countries with this technology. And that's on top of the absolute fucking nonsense that is the other countries. Atlas is the only country apparently with a standing army, which makes no fucking sense at all when they are the country that has started multiple wars. Like,
that would be like if Germany, after World War II, somehow became the world police.
No, not even that. It's like post World War II, Britain, France, and Spain, after beating Germany, all decided to completely disarm and get rid of their entire militaries. Really sure that even though Germany is rebuilding their army, there's no way they will attack again. Also, now
That nice
Germany's
German chancellor promised they wouldn't.
also now Germany is the world police because everyone disarmed their standing armies, and everyone just accepts that, even though they've been the reason for the past like 3 massive wars that have racked the entire country, continent, world. Yeah, no. Also, Ozpin's behind the disarmament of every country besides Atlas, because he just reincarnates apparently into someone and then like disarms their country because.
What? And no one ever goes,
Reasons?
"Hey, maybe we should, build a
Rearm?
military again."
Yeah. Because politics are stagnant and never change once they've been changed.
And there's definitely never any such thing as a nationalistic surge.
No, definitely not. Especially not when the country you've beaten in a war has started making a new military. Definitely no such thing as changing politics. Except all the times that the politics changed. Yeah. Uh, brain. Big, massive brain. And then there's the inconsistencies when it comes to the army. You've pointed this out before, where huntsmen are supposedly the only hope against Grimm because peasants and civilians can't possibly fight off Grimm incursions, but they still constantly go out and make outposts, settlements, towns, farm fields with only pitchforks and basic guns to defend themselves
Bows
with.
and literal arrows.
So even though that's a contradiction, and then you also have on top of that is that soldiers are effective, except they're not effective because they still need huntsmen, except they are effective because they still are in place and haven't all been upgraded to huntsmen, except that they're all being replaced by robots because it's so deadly, except the robots don't work except when they do. Also, all the robots are controlled by a single battleship with an unsecured near-field connection that literally anyone could access if they waved their scroll near it. And there's no automatic shutdown or malware bytes or password.
Well, no. See, Watts gave them the secret magic backdoor that he put in years ago.
Except he didn't. That's actually not the explanation for that. The explanation for how the virus got in is, quote, a very basic exploit that none of them ever patched because they were too arrogant to believe that someone would ever find and exploit it.
Are you kidding me?
I am not. And according to Watts in Season 7, there is no need to worry. The exploit that Cinder used back in Vale was never fixed. Truly, the arrogance and stupidity of Atlas knows no bounds. we will be able to easily traverse the city with none the wiser. So after their battleship being hijacked
and used to massacre civilians,
they not only didn't patch the exploit, they apparently didn't even bother revoking Watts's administrative access or something. Yeah. It's just...
you have no idea how angry this is making me.
I am a personal believer in the idea that leave a writer to write. However, if the writer wishes to exit the field of fantasy, I also believe that they should, nearly 100% of the time, seek out a professional advice. Not for writing, but for whatever they're talking about. So if they want to have their fantasy story, but they want to have one arc where the bad guy hacks the security system and turns all the turrets on the good guys or opens the door for his army or something, they should contact, someone who would know about that sort of stuff and ask them about the plausibility of it. Maybe that's a bad example because of the exact nature of it, but maybe the bad guy's plan is to blow up a dam. Asking a structural engineer might be a good idea. Instead of just being like, oh yeah, they just slapped explosives on the dam and the explosives blew up and the whole thing broke. Actually, that'd be a pretty good way of doing it without going into specifics. But if you're going into specifics, you definitely need professionals to talk about it with you. Like, for example, Monty should have talked it out with a firearms expert about how firearms work. Because that is one of the most infuriating things when it comes to Ruby. Specifically Ruby. And how she uses her sniper scythe to move around. And that it paradoxically doesn't have enough recoil to move her when she fires it, but also does have enough recoil to send her flying when she fires it. Again, this comes down to a point of contention where if in any scene ever we could have had a small little moment where Ruby pulls the bolt back on the gun part and slaps some sort of a special bullet in that's marked a certain way, or she slaps a certain clip in that's marked a certain way, and we can see that she's now moving around using these specialized rounds, I would then shrug my shoulders and be like, okay, it's some sort of magic fantasy dust shenanigans hand wavium that she's doing this by. But no, she uses the exact same rounds for both rocketing her across the battlefield and also stationary sniping with zero recoil. Oh, yeah. Just don't be Tom Clancy. Don't accidentally Tom Clancy. Yeah, Super Potatoes does bring up a good point. Don't accidentally Tom Clancy.
For people who don't know what happened, Tom Clancy made up a bunch of stuff.
Several books worth of stuff that almost all of it came true.
Or had already been done.
Yeah.
And the FBI went, "Who's telling you?"
Where are you getting all of this information? What are you talking about?
Listen, we need to know it's a huge security leak. What are you talking about?
I have no idea what you're talking about. But it's the same thing, like only Yang and Ruby do this too.
Oh.
Like nobody else. Nobody else uses their weapon firing
Doesn't
to
Nora...
move around.
Oh.
Huh?
Doesn't Nora at some point do this? Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but she's using explosives. That has actual kinetic force and blowback to it.
Ah.
I mean, yes, it's a bit silly in how she does it, where she, like, gets on top of the hammer and then fires it at a diagonal to launch her diagonally, even though that's not how force direction would operate, but, you know, at least they tried with that one. And where it made enough sense for me to be like, alright, fine. Because at the same time, we also see that her explosives don't seem to be doing a lot of damage, and are a lot more about the kinetic force they produce than, say, actually dealing, you know, thermal or concussive damage to the target.
Yeah.
But, like, if Ruby had to, again, this is another thing, if Ruby had to, like, brace herself every time she actually fires the rifle at people, I would have been like, oh, okay, so if she doesn't brace herself, she gets sent flying by the power of the rounds. Nope. She just fires it, and sometimes recoil happens, and sometimes it doesn't. And again, with Yang, there is certain instances that I would allow. Like, sometimes she uses it just to dodge a little bit. And it's like, okay, yes, shotguns do have enough kick that you could theoretically shift yourself an inch or two to the left or right if you fired them with that purpose in mind.
Especially if you say, we're already moving in that direction.
Yeah. But she uses it as an accelerant in some scenes. To fly and shit.
By just spamming it. Which is, I mean, if you have a really shitty physics engine, yes. Otherwise, no.
And it's like...
Sneaky, do you think the gods of light and darkness just installed a shitty physics engine?
They use the Havoc engine. That explains why Ruby works the way it does.
Shit, no wonder the Grim have to disappear. Sneaky, or they'd have Anne Orlando ragdolls going on all the time.
Yeah. And that's the other inconsistency when it comes to the Grim. They're a massive genocidal threat. Humanity has been driven back behind the four walls. Except also they have a shit ton of colonies. Except those colonies have walls.
Those colonies just disappear all the time.
Except those colonies have massive walls. Except those colonies also disappear all the time. Except, there's massive farms that produce all this food for these megacities. Except, I mean, I guess that's where all the hunters go, but... You know, we need constant flux of hunters because so many hunters die. Except there's no acknowledgement.
But we very rarely see them get murked.
Yeah, except we like that. Except there's literally no culture over hunters dying. Like, everyone was absolutely shocked that when two hunters were fighting in an arena, that one hunter died. You know, the hyper lethal child soldiers.
One of whom is using shotgun gauntlets, and the
Like,
other who has guns in his leg?
and I mean, not only that, it was a fight between a girl that shot lasers out of a sword, multiple swords, multiple lasers, and some girl with a sword. And then everyone's shocked when one of them dies? I mean, I can understand being shocked when the girl who shoots fucking lasers dies, but you're shocked by the death? In this world? Where you're pushed behind a giant wall with guns on it to protect the last remnants of humanity? And you're shocked by death to the point where you cause a literal city-killing grim horde to happen? Because you're shocked by somebody in the line of duty dying in a gladiator match? You know what the Vital Festival was, right?
Yeah, it was blood sport to keep everybody
No.
fucking calm.
It was the Chunin exams. Monty took a lot of inspiration from a lot of anime. One of
Regrettably.
regrettably. One of which being Naruto. The Vital Festival was the Chunin exams.
I mean, yeah, it's not like he was subtle about it. It happens once every 4 years. Each of the 4 nations will host it once every 4 years.
Yeah. To be fair, the death itself was pretty disturbing. I mean, sure. But if you have near global, or not near global, but far ranging wireless internet connection with, you know, hunters who are children going out, and, you know, children, young adults, you know, whatever, going out and fighting Grim, and you don't think that there isn't hundreds, if not thousands or tens of thousands of personal footage, cameras, videos of teams getting slaughtered by Grim, or being murked by bandits, or, you know, like some guy's doing a vlog and you know, they get fucking ambushed in the middle of the night and killed. You don't think there's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of these videos online? You don't think the sensationalism news never just decided to show these videos? Really? You don't think that the country at this point in its existence, with a genocidal, unexhaustible force beating on their walls on a daily basis, has not been inured to the inevitability of brutal death? I mean, we have, in America. We've been inured to that. And we don't even have a genocidal, unending force of alien creatures trying to kill us.
I mean, we do have communists.
I mean, yes. Remnant Alex Jones. Yeah, he just drives in an APC constantly just like from town to town as he constantly broadcasts his message, so the grim people that are controlling the Vale government don't catch up to him.
Oh, too real.
Considering who Rooster Teeth are, I wouldn't be surprised if they have safe spaces at the office. Yeah, no, I understand, and this is why SJWs can't write good work. is because they can't portray reality, and I'm not saying every single fantasy story needs to be realistic.
Also, let's be clear. There's a difference between liberals and SJWs.
I mean, of course, yeah.
Let's be clear. There are lots of people who write liberal who write stories from a liberal perspective, and they still write realistically.
Yeah, and realistically doesn't mean like everything's got to be gritty. Realistically doesn't mean
God no. One of the most let's be honest. For as fun as 40K is, it is like a right-wing wet dream.
I wouldn't even say right wing. I would say authoritarian.
Okay, let me put it this way: it's definitely not left-wing. The amount of rights, the amount of right suppression and unequal treatment, Sneaky.
See, it's a problem because the left is now the ones that are suppressing rights.
Okay.
And you do forget that the authoritarian libertarian scale is the rights of the people, while the conservative liberal scale is the economics.
You make a valid point. However, regardless, as fun as 40K is, it's nonsense.
Yeah, no, it's absolute nonsense. But it does make an effort to try and stay internally consistent.
Yeah, sure, it stays internally consistent. Well,
I said it
that,
makes an effort to try.
Yeah, as much as anything that large can.
Yeah. But that's sort of what I'm trying to get at when I'm saying your fantasy needs to be realistic, but your fantasy needs to be realism, but not realistic. What I'm trying to say is your fantasy needs to be internally consistent. If you have a unending army of animal-like murder hobos that are bent on the extinction of your species, it wouldn't make much sense for there to be certain prevalence in the cultures, such as being prone to multiple world wars. Would there be disputes? Sure. Would you send your army to fight their army while you're being hounded by an unexhaustible, genocidal species? No!
If anything, having the Vital Festival, like, believe it or not, you know what anime Monty should have lifted from in this particular instance? G fucking Gundam.
Oh yeah. With their Gundam racing thing.
You know, yeah, like, okay, you know what? We're gonna float this big ass coliseum around. It'll go to every country once every 4 years, and whoever wins gets to tell the other 4 countries to sit down and shut up. And they get that for 4 years.
And, obviously this prevents some level of retaliation, because, what happens when you lose? If you, shit all over one specific country, they're gonna shit over you, and if there is a genocidal... I'm not saying that humans won't be dumb. I'm not saying they won't be stubborn. I'm not saying politics won't cause issues. These are all things you could explore in your story. But when you are making a villain in your story, whether that's a species, a specific character, a group, you need to keep in mind the effects that group, species, character could have on the overall nature of the story. For example, if your world is a utopia where literally nothing ever goes wrong, ever, and everyone's happy, no one needs to pay for any product ever because everyone is just so happy and willing to share everything with everyone. It wouldn't make sense to have a civil rights activist group terror bombing people, declaring that they are being mistreated and racism in the system. That would make no fucking sense. Unless you were trying to be like, it's a utopia on the surface, but behind the, curtain, it's terrible. But, no, I'm not talking about, like, some sort of deep introspective shit. I'm talking literally, it's just utopia on the surface, utopia behind the curtain. But, for some reason, there's a fucking, insert thing here activist group that is just fucking shooting people and stabbing people, demanding rights and money and shit. And it's just like, what? That makes no sense. They wouldn't make sense for them to exist. It wouldn't make sense for them to do what they're doing. Salem joins the Slaughterhouse 9. That being said, Tyrion is a good villain in RWBY during Season 7. I'll take your word for it. But it's just... Cinderfall was a terrible villain. Her motivation was either non-existent or didn't make sense. She's doing all this for power, to be powerful because power. What?
Right? They don't even make it like a Sith Lord thing.
Like, if she wants to be powerful so no one can ever hold power over her again, why is she subservient to Salem? Like, Cinderfall as a third-party antagonist would have actually been sort of interesting. Where it's like, you have Ozpin trying to do the good deed. And then Salem is, got some plot going on. She's trying to bring down the city. And then meanwhile, you have Cinderfall showing up, fucking up both their plans. Because she's trying to make her own power play, not realizing who she's fighting. That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm going to blow up thousands of years this city has existed. And it took one person and a civil rights group to destroy it. Or badly damage it to the point where a massive grim invasion could occur. And this is the first time it's ever happened, ever. What? No one in the past, literally ever, has ever thought the thoughts that Salem had, or Cinderfall had? Really? Really? The villains don't make sense and are incredibly inconsistent. Tyrion is actually a good villain because he's literally a cultist who is just fucking off his rocker. And he worships Salem as some form of higher power.
Which,
all
she can do.
All realistic.
Yeah.
All realism. It makes sense in universe that if people of certain dispositions were to discover the existence of Salem because she either intentionally or unintentionally revealed herself to them, some would worship her. Some would seek her out for power, not not realizing that in the end, the deal they make is a Faustian bargain.
Or you might even have people like shit, Dalamar from the Dragonlance series, who goes, "I'm making a Faustian bargain, and I don't give a shit.
Right, exactly. Well,
I know it's Faustian, but it's going to get me what I want."
yeah, that's more the cultist, but that's like between the cultist and the megalomaniac. But yeah,
True. I just wanted to point out there that
yeah,
third group is technically pot. Anyway, point is,
there is
realistic
groups
thing.
of people that could be villains for that, but Cinderfall with her power for power because power is power, power, power. I will be power.
It's like the worst possible version of a Sith Lord ever.
Yeah. Also, I have to be absolutely, utterly loyal and subservient to someone else with this power. Except I don't want
By the
people
way,
with power over me.
like what was the Sneaky? What was the Sith Lord? There was the Sith Lord who he used the dark side to be rich and famous and powerful and died happy in his bed.
Oh fuck. That was Old Republic era.
Literally an amazing Sith.
Yeah. Then there's the Faunus group. The White Fang. That makes no sense as well. Activist group. Sensible. Okay, following along. They used to be peaceful. Okay. But some members started instigating riots. Okay, yep, it happens. And the government had a overreaction response to it, and the leader, something happens. Some people die, some people get arrested. Okay, and then the leader drops out from this activist group in disgrace for the activist group because he is ashamed of what they've turned into. Okay? Extremist guy takes power. Okay? We are going to cause so much terror that all the humans will respect us and then we'll kill all the humans.
Boss, could we maybe skip the step where we earn their respect and just kill them?
Okay. That's a little bit far, but those sort of groups exist. Bit of a transition, but I'm following along. Also, we're gonna get hilariously angry when people dislike us for trying to genocide them.
Okay, but Sneaky, think about groups like Antifa that go, if you oppose us, you're a fascist.
Okay, but I'm trying to frame this. It's difficult to get it from my head out into words properly, so you can see where I'm coming from with this.
I think I get where you're going.
But it's like if Antifa started assassinating like CEOs of various companies because they declared them to be fascist racists, and then were shocked when people would be discriminatory towards people that support Antifa. And then somehow we get a main character who tries to portray Antifa as misguided, but still correct. A group of which she left and they want to kill her for.
Yeah.
She left while on a mission to hijack a train and blow up the train while stealing all the resources with hundreds of civilians inside it. And she left because of that, but Antifa's still just misguided and isn't deserving of your hate. What? Now, if you wanted to explore that character as she somehow finally realizes the full scope of Antifa's horrors, but somehow didn't realize that when she ran away from them for the horrible things they were doing. Like, I know we've shifted gears a bit, but I'm going to rant about Blake now, because her character is incredibly inconsistent in that she left due to a mission in which they were going to kill hundreds of civilians that had nothing to do with the cause they were trying to justify. But even though she left due to that mission, she still believed in the cause, even though the leader of the cause sanctioned that mission, and a majority of the White Fang supported that mission, and that all of them saw her as a betrayer for leaving that mission. She still, for some reason, supports the cause. And doesn't... And then, when presented with another Faunus, who is illegally transporting himself to another country, littering, assaulting cops, and then fleeing, she gets angry when somebody calls him a criminal. And she's the good guy that we're all supposed to be understanding for and support in her character journey of contradictory worldviews being held simultaneously, which I understand the double think bit, but that's a very complicated character you're throwing at us for all the screen time she gets, which is effectively none, because she's basically a background character who occasionally says lines to the main character. But she has basically needs a massive character arc displayed on screen to us, just so we don't absolutely fucking despise her existence. Also, she double thinks constantly, and when she burned her own house down, she blamed the White Fang. She went full fucking circle. To, the White Fang isn't at fault, to, I burned my own house down, the White Fang did it. I'm surprised this rant's been going on for so long. Yeah, it's just, I told you, I can literally rant on Ruby for over an hour.
And
I told you this.
The rest of us have plenty. The rest, by me and Mac, there's plenty for us to say too. It's easier just let Sneaky go.
there is just so much contradiction when it comes to Ruby that it's force field dust. Fucking guys, there is so much I could scream about. But I've kept you all around here long enough. My throat's getting dry. I'm running out of breath. So you know what? We're gonna calm down. And I'm gonna wish, well, they're gonna calm down. I'm not. I'm gonna go play Dota. So I'm probably gonna get angrier. But I do appreciate everyone who stuck around for this long to hear me fucking scream my lungs out in a quite literal fashion, as some of you heard, over Ruby, and how much I fucking hate it because of how many problems there are with it, and how fucking willfully oblivious the writers are as to why those problems exist. Like they aren't tying. It's like they put on 2 fucking eye patches, some horse blinders, 5 blindfolds, stuck a fucking apple in their mouth, drilled their ears out, and then were like, I can't possibly understand why people think Ruby is bad.
Guys, we fixed the animations after all.
Why aren't more people happy with all the minority support we've been doing? The entire cast is lesbian. Why don't people like our story?
I'm not playing fucking Dota.
I'll play Dota in a second, hold on. Anyway, so I appreciate everyone who stayed around for that long. I appreciate all the views you give me and the time you spend here. Even if you're just putting me on in the background. Makes me feel like someone's listening, even if barely. But
I mean, I'm listening. I don't actually care about you, but I am listening.
in the end, it's time to say goodbye. But
Sneaky, would you say in the end it doesn't even matter?
I would say in the end it doesn't even matter. So bleed it out. Throw it away. We'll see you next Tuesday. Because there's always more, and it always gets worse.